the presence of a subsidiary in California to give rise to physical presence and therefore nexus. I agree with that. But that's not what I'm doing in this bill, because we're not talking about that. You know, the current case, I think, stands for the proposition that corporations or subsidiaries can't, in and of themselves, give rise to physical presence. The fact that there is a subsidiary, the fact there is a relationship between two corporations does not give rise to physical presence. But when one of those subsidiaries helps create the marketplace, develop the marketplace, assists in marketing, they're doing more than just some other business. It isn't, for instance, example given to me, Pepsi-Cola dealing with Taco Bell, although Taco Bell is a subsidiary of Pepsi-Cola. This is in the case of Amazon. In the case of Amazon, this is a major corporation that has an agent, in my opinion, although legally you'd have to argue that. But they have their agent over here, their CIA agents, if you will, doing business and collecting information, developing research and design for the Kindle in the case of Amazon. And the Kindle is only sold by Amazon. So any company that has that kind of relationship, that's more than just two subsidiary corporations. And in terms of the argument, be careful what you ask for. BOE rejected that argument in their analysis, and it's included in the committee analysis. They don't think, without going into all the details, basically in order to not pay taxes on sales made by one subsidiary to the other, they have to be the same corporation, literally the same corporation. It has to be the same business doing business with itself. So I don't think that that's a viable argument. So I think that this is an innovative approach, and we have to become innovative in California if we're going to get through this fiscal crisis, because we sure can't depend on votes.
Sure.
And, for cuts and for revenue.
Great.
Ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions? Ms. Harkey?
Well, I think that's probably the cuts versus revenue are kind of and the votes are kind of a moot point right now. I do not think we'll see revenue from this because it will be litigated. That being said, part of our biggest problem here in California is that we are so uncompetitive, and I understand the need to be fair and across the board and try to collect taxes where we can from people who actually operate here, as well as those with people and staff, as well as those across the state. One of the main problems I have with this, though, is if our populace is actually using these sites and benefiting somehow from them, then we are in essence creating a cost or an extra burden on them that maybe other states don't have. There's no tax that gets paid for by the entity; it gets paid for by the purchaser of the goods. I've never been an Amazon purchaser. Don't know anything and could care less. I go to a store if I wanted, or I just go through a local a store that I know, because everybody seems to have a website for whatever you need. But I did use LL Bean when I was younger, and quite honestly, I loved it. I thought they were great. So if this is the same debate coming back, I'll just have to say I always vote on the consumer side. If the consumer, maybe we need to do something here in California that makes it a little bit easier for Barnes & Noble to operate and to maintain profitability, rather than trying to collect elsewhere where we don't even know if we'll get it, and we're really not sure of the amount that we'll reap. I know there's a move to try to raise revenue here, which I've seen over the last 2 years in any way possible. But taxing our people is not, it meets a point of diminishing returns. And I'd like to create more purchasing power for them, and I would like to create more equity for Barnes & Noble rather than the reverse. So Thank you. I appreciate your
I
concerns.
just want to respond. We're not creating any more obligation. They already have the obligation under existing law. So what we're trying to do is just collect it the way we collect any other tax from, in terms of income tax or property tax. So I don't think we're creating a new obligation, and this is not a tax.
Great.
The tax already exists.
Thank you. Any other thoughts, questions? Okay, we'll refer this to suspense. Thank you very much. We have two more to go. We have next Assemblymember Cedillo, AB 289, and after that will be Assemblymember Gordon, AB 703. And then we're done.
Lean on the glass.
All right, we're all yours.
BOE. Hi. Thanks for your support.
Margaret Chad, Board of Equalization.
Sure, Quesadilla. Simple bill should be on consent. Probably will get out with I anticipate everybody should be voting for this. It's been a successful program. We're simply bringing forward a successful program that in the past we've extended the sunset. We know it works. The sunsets are good. They give us an opportunity to evaluate whether or not a proposition or proposal that we have at the beginning really creates the results that we project. In this instance, that's the case, and in fact, in this instance, we want to improve it by applying this not only to those who are impacted with HIV/AIDS, but also terminal diseases like cancer. And so, as I said, it's been an existing program. It's the support of BOE, a program that gives us an ability and puts these nonprofits at the same level as others like the Salvation Army and Goodwill Industries. And so, proven entity, we've already been through the sunsets. It's time to lift the sunset and make this become part of the stable fabric of our goodwill for terminally ill patients. That's for an aye vote.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Rand Martin on behalf of the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. AHF is the largest provider of medical care and treatment to people with HIV and AIDS in the state of California, private provider in the state of California. This has been a great boon to our ability to provide medical care to indigent persons with HIV and AIDS in Los Angeles County and in the Bay Area. It's been terrific over the last 15 years to have this available to us. We would certainly like to see it continued. We certainly agree with the Senator that after 15 years, we think it's a proven program and deserves to be made a permanent part of the law. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members, my name is Margaret Chad with the Board of Equalization. The board voted to unanimously support the bill for the reasons stated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? How about opposition? See none. Any comments or questions? This is a suspense file candidate. Any questions? Would you like to close it all?
I thank you for your support and look forward to this being moved forward.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you very much. Okay, last up, Assemblymember Gordon, AB 703. And everybody who's here for 703, thank you for being so patient. I know it's been a long afternoon. We're all yours.
Great. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is AB 703, the provision of a welfare exemption from property taxes to specified open space and natural resource lands. In 1971, and I'm not even sure the chairman was born then,
I don't think my parents had even met yet.
In 1971, because of issues around the lack of uniformity in local land assessment for lands that had been purchased by nonprofit land trusts, there was a study done by this committee that led to the implementation of legislation that defined open space lands and created an exemption for qualified nonprofits who held open space lands for protection from the property tax. This legislation, first introduced in and passed and signed in 1972, has been in effect now for over 40 years. It sunsets, and this bill would extend this beneficial activity into the future. This would allow the nonprofit land trusts to focus their funds on long-term land stewardship. And without this exemption, there are some probably critical problems that would be faced. Many of these organizations would deal with issues of insolvency. There is a possibility that lands, particularly those purchased with bond funds, would revert into state ownership at a time that we can't afford to even maintain our own parks. There also would be local land management costs that would be incurred by local governments in that case. The benefit of maintaining this tax exemption is such that it would provide for a surety for those nonprofit trusts that these lands would remain available, and they would be available in perpetuity for the use of the citizens of California, both for the protection of their natural resources and for the beneficial use of these lands by our citizens. I would respectfully request an aye vote when this is taken off suspense.
Great. Thank you very much. Witnesses' support.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Dave Kaler, and I'm here on behalf of the San Joaquin River Parkway and Conservation Trust, as well as the San Joaquin River Partnership, to speak in favor of AB 703, which is a critical tool for our organizations. The San Joaquin River Parkway and Conservation Trust is a land trust working to create and protect the San Joaquin River Parkway along a 22-mile section of the river from Friant Dam to Highway 99 in the communities of Fresno and Madera. And we are one of many nonprofits, of 11 nonprofits participating in the San Joaquin River Partnership to improve the San Joaquin River throughout its entirety as a vibrant resource. The Nature Conservancy, Audubon, California, Trust for Public Land, and others are part of that partnership. The tax exemption is a critical tool that allows our organizations to provide an important quality of life service to Californians, protecting open space lands for public benefit and the enjoyment of those public open space lands. I wanted to give you one example that I think is replicated by many nonprofit organizations throughout the state, but in our area on the San Joaquin River, we own and operate the Coke-Hallowell Center for River Studies. It's a 20-acre property that is a historic ranch that we have restored. It has surrounded by wildlife ponds and scenic natural lands on the urban edge of Fresno. It's an interpretive center, and it maintains preserving wildlife and providing outdoor recreation to the urban communities of Fresno, Clovis, and Madera. We had 20,000 visitors last year at the River Center. Many of those people enjoyed the open space lands, picnicking, and wildlife. But in addition to that, we provided programs of youth services in the form of our River Buddies program for preschoolers that visited the site. It's an important place for our river campers, urban youth visiting, and a third of those kids are able to have this experience on full scholarship that we offer to disadvantaged youth in the area. These are very critical things for us, and we'd urge your support today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair and members. Reed Addis on behalf of the Los Angeles Neighborhood Land Trust. We're also here in support today. We are a nonprofit based in the LA region. Our mission is to provide open space and parks to the kind of a rather park-poor community. And we go and do special projects related to pocket parks, urban gardens for the communities. And we use this program in the past, and we will extensively use it in the future. It's one of the critical tools that allows us as a nonprofit entity to help local governments in the state in a very inexpensive manner operate properties for community access and recreation. Currently, we use it on our Estrella Park in the Los Angeles area, and as I say, we anticipate over the next 2 to 3 years, we will be looking at an additional 5 parks that we would use with this law. We are here today just in strong support. The only thing we would like to raise is that we noticed in the analysis it potentially mentions the idea of just extending the sunset. We would strongly suggest this committee just move forward and allow us to have the permanent exemption. It helps nonprofits like ours be able to plan better, make better, put better projects together, and allows us to really do more when we have that long-term stability and security. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Christopher Trinnell here on behalf of Friends of the Desert Mountains in Coachella Valley. We work very closely in the Coachella area with local government partners, development industry partners on long-term conservation planning that benefits not only the wildlife and the habitats in the Coachella area, but also long-term economic development in that area because of the nature of those projects. This tool, this current tax exemption for conservation lands, is an absolutely essential component of our work down there, our collaborative work with those other partners, and we strongly urge your support for this measure when it comes up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Please just give us your name and organization.
Darla Gensler, California Council of Land Trust, on behalf of about 150 land trusts throughout the state.
Great. Support, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Pablo Garza with the Nature Conservancy, and we are here in strong support as well. Thank you.
Great.
Chair and members, Dan Taylor with Audubon, California. We operate 10 facilities around the state. We're in strong support of the bill and urge its passage. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair and members, Chris Mertens here on behalf of the Tulare Basin Wildlife Partners, Marin Agricultural Land Trust, Peninsula Open Space Trust, Big Sur Land Trust, and the Land Trust of Santa Cruz County, all in support.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Rob Grossglauser with the California Assessors Association in support because of the administrative aspect of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any witnesses in opposition? See none. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Mr. Bell?
Now, this is a very important bill for my district in Santa Clara County, and I would love to, if it's acceptable, the author to be added as a co-author.
Absolutely. I'll accept that question and answer yes.
Great. Would you like to close it all?
Let me just simply say that there, I think, is a great benefit to the state of California by providing this exemption, particularly at a time when we need the private sector to be engaged in land preservation as we deal with the issues of our state parks. We've had this exemption for 40 years, and I believe that we ought to continue it. I would urge a yes vote when this comes off suspense.
Thank you very much. Well, this item will be referred to suspense. However, I will just say that I've had a chance to benefit from some amazing land that has been preserved in the Central Valley and Fresno. The San Joaquin River Parkway has done a tremendous job in doing that. So thank you. So I believe we'll refer that to suspense. Is that our last item for the day? All right, that is our last item for today. Do we have any add-ons?
Which they can do after you adjourn.
Okay, great. Great, we have a few add-ons, so we'll go ahead and do that after we adjourn. Meeting adjourned.